I'm Matt Braunger. This might help.
I am not a doctor.
This might help.
I'm not a professional.
Let's have fun. This honestly is a good time.
Honestly, I got no idea what I'm doing. What's going on, Lori?
I'm Matt Braunger. This might help. The podcast.
Hey, welcome to This Might Help with Matt Braunger, the advice podcast that's not good at advice. We do what we can, and it's fun, and this is for humor and a good time. So if you're here for literal clinical advice, you got the wrong pod, man, or lady, or non-binary person. We are here to help if we can. The title is This Might Help, but the intonation is This Might Help. The point is just to be fun. I have someone who I've looked up to a long time comedically on the show, who now is a friend, which is very cool. It's a cool thing that happens in the biz called show. Please welcome Lorraine Newman. Lorraine.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me, Matt. Just wait till I give my big fat opinions.
I love it. No, I'm excited because, you know, I feel like I've lived a few lives. I'm sure you feel the same way about yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
and then some. Yes.
And that's why I have so many entertainers on this show, because I feel like we've navigated things through a lot of lenses. So
that's fair.
This is great.
Fair. Yes.
This is great. How are you today? Are you feeling well and everything?
I'm
good?
fine. Everything. I can't complain.
Nice.
Said no Jewish woman ever. And I am healthy. Knock on soundproofing panel.
Here you go.
And my family's good. So how could I not be good?
There you go. That's all you can hope for. It is that thing when you're younger, when people are like, I have my health, and you're like, well, so.
Yeah,
you always
exactly.
do. It's like when you get older, you're like, no, this is.
Just you wait.
This is
Just
worth
you
more
wait
than.
till you getting up in the morning without pain is a novelty.
Yeah, I wake up with back and hip pain from carrying my 20-pound baby around, which isn't even that heavy of a baby, really. For it's around there, but
cumulatively,
my body adjusting,
yeah,
is killing me sometimes. So I got to do stretching and all that jazz. How old is your daughter now?
Well, I have two kids.
Two, right? Sorry.
And one is 29 and one is 26 this month.
Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness.
The
So
younger
you're done.
kid is, yeah. Oh, boy.
Look at you.
You can't
Nice.
see that, but I'm like doing that thing that means you're all done with your hands.
You're clapping the flour of the bakery off your hands.
Exactly.
The buns are baked
Exactly.
and out.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Did they both grow up in Los Angeles?
Yes. Third generation Los Angelinos.
Nice.
And, well, yours is very delicious. How are you liking that?
Oh yeah. She's a peach. It's weird because she is. A lot people say the same thing. They're like, she looks like a doll, and I'm like, yeah, okay. And she is. She's got these blue, like Siberian sheepdog or Siberian husky eyes.
Ooh,
like,
how pretty.
and dark hair. She's technically Black Irish and
Oh,
and
I
just
love that
cherubic
coloring.
but she is and she's got these really long eyelashes too, which is strange on a baby. But yeah,
Damn it.
we were in this kind of like hipster kind of vegan mini mart thing, and this gorgeous 20-something girl looked at her and went, oh, her lashes, just like yelled it out in the store.
I want them.
Kind of. But this is the best chapter of my life. I kind of look at it the way I've had people that I look up to go, no, this is the best. Where I am right now is the best.
Right.
Because
And
for a long time, I won't say I lived in the past, but I did go, oh boy, that was awesome. I wish that kind of thing would happen again. And I don't want anything that happened to me before really to ever happen to me again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I am an older parent. I had my kids at 39 and 42. And there wasn't anything I would have rather been doing than being their mom. I didn't have a party I wanted to go to. I didn't have a trip I wanted to take. I just love going up the street to the park and playing with them.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I am too. I'm 46 and my wife just turned 40. And so we're about the same. I'm older, but it is that same mind state where you're like, boy, I feel lucky that I get to have this.
And you know what's amazing is that nobody else in the history of the world has had children when they're older. We're the only ones
That's it.
who are completely enchanted by it.
Well, I tell you, I love the fact that we've evolved, I think, as a species, especially in terms of how we treat women, where you better have a kid by 25 or you're nothing. You know, that horse shit. And
Yeah.
my neighbor Hillary, who's in her 80s, who has every power tool you can imagine, and has these great kids, and they have grandkids. She has grandkids, but she's very funny, and she's lived a ton of lives. Like at one point, she was like, "Oh, I used to sing backup for a transvestite performer in New York in the 70s named Aurora Borealis." And I'm like, "What? What is this?" But she said her father. She grew up in Manhattan. She said her father, when she turned 21, threw down a copy of the White Pages and just yelled, "Pick a name." Like, pick any man. And get married.
Oh, God.
Just,
oh, my God.
I mean,
wow.
How were your parents with you, and especially becoming a performer? Because you started performing pretty young, right?
Yeah, my mother, whose first husband had been an actor, and it was not a good journey. And so she said to her 4 children, "I don't care what you kids do as long as you don't go into show business." Now, you know, my sister's a comedy writer, my twin brother's a singer-songwriter, but at least our older brother sells ATM machines. He did, you know, right by our mother. But the thing about my mom is she never raised her daughters to think that marriage was a career, like the goal, the be all and the end all. That was the goal. She always raised us with the assumption that a career was what you do, you know, which in the 50s and 60s is not that common, you know.
Oh.
So I got to thank her for that.
Yeah, I think even just on the standpoint of believing in you, but also believing in the individual's essence of finding survival.
Yeah.
You know, to say to your daughters, don't cling to a man. You know, they're not a boat to
well, don't
yourself
look to that's not fulfillment. You know, and she modeled it because she was never home. You know, she was always doing something. She was very talented and very creative, but, you know, probably would have been better if she hadn't had kids. Wasn't that interested in the whole process. So I think coming from that mindset also, where she modeled pursuing your interests is what really led me and my sister especially to just go out and pursue our interests, get as good at it as we could be.
Wow.
And it led us to incredible experiences. My sister went to New York and had her own show on PBS and was like a MC at all the comedy clubs. So she was friends with Richard Pryor and Rodney Dangerfield. And, you know, that was my big sister. That was her route.
That's crazy. She must have just been over the moon for you when you got the big job.
Well, she was very supportive. I mean, I owe so much to my sister. She, you know, she's 9 years older than me and my brother. So this little set of twins were like, you know, toys for her, like little dolls. She really treated us like her kids. And, you know, she's responsible for me to join the improv group that we eventually created the Groundlings from. She was there first.
Oh, my goodness.
She was always there first.
Well, and I think so much of it starts with open-mindedness, where, you know, I know that personally I base so much on going, well, I don't know. Maybe this person has a good idea. Whereas I used to cut them off and myself and go, no, look, we all know it's this, you know, and that's one thing that kind of drives me crazy about my father-in-law. I love him. They were there. Both my in-laws were here for the week. I love him, but he'll just throw out the most crazy opinion, and nothing political, but just an angle on something that's often totally wrong, and be like, well, we all know it's this, right? And it's like, stop trying to get me on your team of contrarianism. That's not what, you know. So it's like your sister certainly could have been like, look, I do showbiz. Don't do this. Do this. Do this. Do this. Improv. You make it up. I don't know.
I think, though, having grown up partially in Beverly Hills and seeing children of very famous people,
Oh,
it must be very hard if your child does not have the aptitude.
yeah.
My parents really observed the fact that my sister and I had the aptitude to be successful.
Yeah.
Whether or not that would happen, they knew was a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm.
But they saw that we had the aptitude, so they weren't in the sticky position of saying, well, maybe you should have a backup plan, although they did have me go to secretarial school, but which is where I discovered cocaine. But anyway, I didn't have to suffer that, delicate thing. And same with my kids. Thank God they have the aptitude for what they're doing.
Oh, no, or both? I mean, I know one of your daughters is hilarious stand-up.
Thank you. The older kid, they are also started stand-up when they were 15.
Whoa.
They went to high school with Rob Reiner's kid, Jake, and Tracy Ullman's son. And they were like the unholy three. And Jake got Spike into stand-up, into this class.
Whoa.
And they were absolutely, if I do say so myself, the kid is brilliant. And they are also on an HBO show. They're both on HBO shows right now.
That's amazing. What shows?
Spike is on Los Spookies.
Yes. Great show.
And Hannah is on Hacks, that new HBO Max show.
Oh, good for her.
With
That's
Gene
cool.
Smart. Yeah.
I've seen Los Spookies is brilliant, and Hacks is like every one of my friends is like, you got to see it, And so like,
I hope you like it.
No, and this is so crazy. I feel like HBO Family, because my wife's client Sam J's show comes out Friday. It's called Pause. Free plug for the listeners for all three of those shows.
PAUSE?
Yes. And it's Sam is a brilliant black lesbian comedian who is very much talks about the stuff that you don't think comedians should and makes it fun. Is very much like a person of the people. It's like this show is like made for her. But
what's the wraparound? Is it a story or is it stand up?
I would loosely call it a talk show, but it's set around a party a la Playboy After Dark.
Oh my God, what brilliant.
Yeah, and I said that to Sam. I was like, this reminds me of Playboy After Dark. And she was like, yo, that's what I'm going for. I was like, oh, okay. Well. I was like, how would you even I'm too young for that reference.
How hip of her.
Right, totally.
Wow.
But then she'll talk to, I can't give away all the things, but it's like, imagine the what do you call the remotes that the Daily Show does,
right?
But it's not about making the person look like a fool. And I'm not putting it on the Daily Show, but people with really divergent viewpoints from all angles, and Sam kind of communes with them, and is about what we determine as definitions of people, is how I'll loosely put it. But it's all
so she finds the similarities.
Finds the similarities, and also the weirdness, and also calls things out, and it's also just drop dead hilarious.
Oh, I can't wait.
I've seen the pilot a few times because my wife manages her, but I'm just like, oh my God, it's that thing where I've just been telling friends like, you're not ready, this is going to be great. But I mean, talk like back to your family, like talk about wonderful validation is very cool. Like I think that's it. You always look at your kid as kind of as a gem. I know that. I made it a point to not be that boring dad who's like, oh, when I hold her, it's like and because yes, it's almost like that's my drug that only works in my veins. If that makes sense.
How well put. Yes.
You would love my kid. Most people love my kid. She's very even tempered and fun and laughs and it's great, but you never feel the same thing. And that's a thing I fear if my kid was like, I really want to be a performer, because you're like, okay,
well,
but it's also, I always say my Oscar speech, would always be to my parents who never said, that's stupid. Like that's it. They didn't. And it kind of is.
I think the hallmark of maturity is knowing that you don't know.
That's it.
And as you said earlier, the idea of being open-minded. It's those things that I think really, if we're to gain any wisdom, because I don't feel like I have wisdom. I'm supposed to. I'm 69, for fuck's sake. But I don't really feel like I have as much wisdom as one would assume someone my age would have. But, the only route towards that, I think, is knowing that you don't know and having an open mind.
Well, I think you always struck me as someone with wisdom, serenity, but also you just never struck me as jaded. Because look, I've known a lot of people who your age, younger, older, who've been through the ringer, and we've all been kicked around and had moments where, in a sense, I feel like I took on a lot of anger and resentment at being slighted and all that jazz.
God, yeah.
But I feel like I can't come out the other side, and at least I know it. At least I go like, all right, well, you got to don't trigger yourself. You're doing this to yourself.
Oh,
but
yes.
I've known people, who've reached the heights that you have that came out way, way worse for it on the other side. And because they just can't, they can't let it go. They want, I guess the term would maybe be closure or something, but it's like, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think that if your current existence is something that you're happy about and grateful for, it's really hard to hold on to all that other stuff. And also, as time goes on, the imagined slights that we have, we realize are imagined.
Yeah.
And the ones that we do have, it's like, well, so that person doesn't like you, you know? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I recently had an experience where I was at a kind of a barbecue, and there, because my wife's on the other side of business, I see people who I've dealt with here and there. No one who, in a long time, who's like effed me over, and there are a couple, but I was talking to a guy who was at a situation where I felt like a bunch of people working at a particular network, I won't say which one, who I've worked with before, were kind of doing this around me without doing that. And I was like, were they really being such dicks? And he was like, yeah, I'm really sorry about that. And I thought back, and I had been telling myself for years, or maybe 2 years, that these people were like, no, they were just tired, or, giving them every benefit of the doubt. And he confirmed it. And I felt myself, and I said this to my wife, I reverted back to being in second grade, and the kids wouldn't let me sit at their table, and I had to go sit alone.
Oh, God. Well, it is high school. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, it is. Showbiz is high school, but it was like, I'm just glad I was, rather than go off on a tear or set a car on fire or something, I knew it. I knew exactly what it hooked me up to, because I feel like people get better or worse, but they don't really change. And you're kind of always that kid, like a part of you.
Absolutely. I think we all are. We all, I've been in therapy, Matt. And one thing that my therapist said, which, it never occurred to me, I don't know why, but being left out can actually be physically painful.
Yep.
It's one of the biggest things, because as a society and evolutionary, that's our survival.
Yeah.
But also as we become a civilization, it's about ego, but of course it is about acceptance and feeling, a part of something. It's so important to feel accepted and included.
Yeah.
And by God, in our business especially, we can be left out, and we can be treated like, it's almost as if people make assumptions about you, and you're not in a position to say, no, that's wrong.
Yes.
You're just not. So, you got to accept that you are powerless over people, places, and things, and what people think. It's just, you got to let it go.
That's it.
I can't always. I'm not saying that I have gotten to a point in my life where I'm 100% not reactive to that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
But I'm a lot better.
Yeah, and that's all you can hope for, and you got to give yourself credit for that. Personally, got to go, hey, good job, buddy. You know how you used to be with that kind of thing,
right?
And that's progress. I'm in therapy too, and one thing I like about Alan is that he will call me out he's not brutal, but he'll call me out on stuff right away. And so I know when he gives me credit for something, I'm like, oh, okay, that's real. That's real. He has nothing to gain by lying to me.
Exactly.
It's funny because his wife is a therapist too, and I have a bit on one of my specials about the time I broke up with my now wife. We got back together, but I was a mess, and I was like, I don't want to come to your office. He was like, well, can I meet you somewhere? And he met me at a mall, and I walked around the mall with my therapist. And the joke is, people saw us and probably thought we were a couple, and they were like, why the hell are you dumping him at a mall? You heartless dick. Why here? And Alan loves that joke, especially because we've come out on the other side so much better. But he watched it with his wife, and he couldn't be like, that's my client, I'm him.
Oh no.
He can't tell her.
God.
Isn't that wild?
That's
because
wonderful.
Of client confidentiality.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, my therapist is great because she has a terrific sense of humor, and she will be facetious in a kind way.
Nice.
So it's like, yeah, that's probably what's happening. And of course.
That's it.
Oh, all right.
Perfect.
She's so funny.
That's awesome. So, do you get a lot of people asking you advice? You must, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
about the how do you get into voiceover and how did you start? It's stuff like that. Yes.
Okay, great. Because I always ask people that, and I find I tend to have your enjoyable people on the show, and often that means very kind people. But it's funny the amount of people who said, "Yeah, I do, but I think it's because they know I'm going to be super nice about it, no matter what I say."
I never even got that far. That's interesting.
No,
never.
I'm glad you didn't give that response where people are because you're Laraine Newman, you're a legend, and I would think, but
Sure.
listen, you're also people know you to be very kind, and so I could see someone like let's say you go see Hannah do a set, and then someone comes up to you afterwards and is just like, how was I? And you're like, oh, please don't make me, because
Yeah.
thinking that you would just be like, oh, I like what you're trying out there or whatever,
Yeah.
That's got to be because we've all been in the business for a while, and like we're all at certain echelons in certain people's minds, you know, and it's that thing where when I was young, I mean, God, all I wanted was validation, that it was worth more.
Yeah.
Than gold.
Well, the best thing I can do when I see someone that I don't think is there yet, and that's all it is.
Yeah,
Sometimes, actually, another times they're tone deaf and it's not going to change.
sure.
But what I usually say to them is read a book. Read anything. Read a lot. And also see every other comic so that you don't do what they're doing.
Yes.
That's my basic, baseline advice that I give to anybody. But reading is so important. I just give them an example of like Patton Oswalt.
Yeah.
His references are funny, but they're also very literate.
Yeah.
And I mean, it may be that he appeals to a certain, demographic. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's stuff like that that really appeals to me.
Yeah, but it's perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always gonna get a pushback on that. But if like you're listening to this, anybody, and you're doubting it, and you're just like your knee jerk is like, but I don't want to. It's like, but that's why you should. It's really why you should.
Yeah.
And
if they're not intellectually curious, then it's going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, and just try to think outside your frame of reference. So read, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's perfect. We started with a piece of advice. Are you ready for the calls?
Shoot.
Okay. As you might or might not know, I don't listen to the calls. Only the producer Renee hears them and picks them out. So me and you are going down this road together. Heading in
Let's
there.
hold hands, Matt.
Let's hold hands.
Let's do it. And
into
skip.
the woods.
Yeah.
Roll the first call.
Hey, Matt, this is Rob. First of all, I absolutely love your podcast. I listen to it every time it comes on, and it just makes my day. I'm going to try to make this brief, but if I ramble a little bit, I apologize. I am thinking about doing a podcast of my own, and it is. I kind of want it to be kind of hip hop and R&B centric, especially the '90s brand of hip hop and R&B. And I want to do it with a friend of mine. He and I are just a couple old corny white guys who love talking about rap music and especially the old stuff, the Biggie Smalls and Tupac and West Coast, East Coast, all of that good stuff from back in the '90s. We love talking about that. And I thought, you know what? Our wives are just, they've had enough of us talking about it with them. So why not just tell everybody else about it? I just don't know if my friend will be up for that. I don't know if he's willing to put himself out there on the air and make a spectacle out of himself. Probably make a fool out of both of us. But I think we would have a ball doing it as long as we did it correctly. My advice is, what do you think I should say to him in order to get the reaction that I need or that I would like to have and get this thing going? Obviously we would do our research to find out what kind of equipment we would need, who we need to talk to, where we need to get this going. But that's all preliminary. I want to make sure that he's on board, because if I do it by myself, I don't think it would be nearly as effective. So if I could just get some advice about what I should say to him or what have you, I'd appreciate it. Again, keep up the great work, and look forward to hearing from you. Have a good day.
Thanks, Rob. First off, if you really want to do it and he really wants to do it, I think you should absolutely do it, because it sounds like you're doing it for the right reason. You never said, I think it'd be some extra income, which is good.
Man.
You didn't say this is how to get my name out there, which it won't do. There are
Right.
roughly 1 trillion podcasts out there.
Right.
But if you're using it as an exorcism for something your wives are sick of listening to, great. If it's an outlet, great. If it helps your marriage, great. In terms of what you asked me, how to get your friend on board and get the reaction or the answer you want, just be honest and tell the guy why. Don't leave all bullshit out. Honesty is truly the best policy, and I think the thing is, your reasoning is good and pure. So that's awesome. And it's something that sounds fun. And it's honestly, because you guys have a bit, it'll be an elevated platform that at least one person might listen to besides the two of you guys. It'll give it some stakes for you, and you'll get really into it. And I think you might get kind of hooked. It's tell your buddy, I said that, and then you can also just totally take my words as well if you want. What would you add, Lorraine?
I agree 100% with you, Matt. And of course, trying to get the reaction that you want from anyone is a fool's errand.
It is.
But I think that if you position it in a way, let's record a couple shows and see if we find it entertaining.
Yeah.
And if
Yep.
we do, let's try and share it with some people.
Mm-hmm.
I would go from there so
Yeah.
that there's no pressure on him. He doesn't feel any pressure to be, like a shock jock or something. I don't know.
No.
Just any pressure to be anything other than what you're trying to do with the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really like a fishing expedition. He doesn't feel like there has to be an outcome. There's no stakes at that point.
That's how you have to do it, because it is truly a territory where people value. One of the things they value is heavy production, sure. So it feels more like a real show, but don't worry about that. Another thing they really value is sincerity and realism. And you could do a pod about two guys arguing over who was better, Tupac or Biggie. But if you guys had that real argument, right? Yeah.
No, nothing. Yeah,
I
West
agree.
Coast. Yeah.
I agree. But
No, that's East Coast. Forgive me.
it is
Sorry.
East Coast, yeah. But the argument, because you guys would be so impassioned, people would listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know why I just thought of this because I said argument, but the two brothers from Oasis were recorded arguing in a studio, and it went to like number 5 on the UK pop charts or something. Like an argument.
Their
between
argument?
guys.
Is it like the Trogs tape?
It's like it's just they're just in the studio and one starts saying all that matters is being a rock star and the other guy says bullets. That doesn't mean shit. And that's
Oh my God.
and because it was like these guys believe this, I'm a fan of these guys. It shot up like a song they did.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so I mean that is what can get some word of mouth out there. And I don't know why I keep saying arguing, but I'm sure you guys would have these slight differences on a topic that people outside of, I don't know, guys my age wouldn't give two shits about. But at the same time, you have that thing people can relate to, which is great. I know.
And have him maybe help you make an outline also, so that he has input too.
I would pick a topic for every episode that you guys can discuss. Don't just wade in and hope a topic comes up. I remember a guy interviewed me in Tampa, Florida, when podcast first started, because they were kind of making this guy do a podcast for the comedy club, and he'd prepared nothing.
Ooh.
And it was just, the questions I've got 1 million. I'm sure you've had 1 billion. How'd you get started? Like the George Carlin bit. How'd you get started? Did you always want to be a comedian? Well, not in the womb, but after that, yes.
I haven't heard that.
That's off of Class Clown. But it's like you got to have something. And then the podcast came out terrible. And I didn't mind, but then I did mind when the guy got mad that I didn't promote that episode. I'm like, I don't want anyone to listen to this.
Yeah.
So, but that was during the exploratory period. Enough people have made good and bad ones that, I don't know, man. It sounds for the right reason, Rob. But in terms of getting the reaction you want, to Lorraine's point, just be honest and hope for the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I compare it to like trying to win over a girl that you like, and you're like, should I trick her? It's like, no, no.
That's starting on the good foot.
Just be yourself, because you'll find if it works out, she's gonna find out who you are anyway. So, there it is. But okay, hope that helps, man. Caller number 2.
Hey y'all, this is Stacey calling from Florida. I've got this ex-husband. Our divorce was just finalized after 4 years of separation. And every time he drops the kids off after his visitation weekend, he just lingers in my house and won't leave. He just sits on the couch and stares at me and expects me to entertain him. And he's not like horrible or anything, but he's also not my favorite person to be around. I just want to discourage him from spending too much time, like 2.5 hours last time, in my house where I like to be free of him. I've got 4 kids already to parent and entertain. I don't need a grown man. Thanks.
Wow. Take it away, Lorraine.
Well, if you're not afraid of him, then I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I need you to go now. I have a lot of work to do, and I can't entertain you. And I'm not comfortable with you lingering. It's hard to say that. I mean, I know it is. But there's a reason you guys are divorced. And as I said, unless you're afraid of this person, that's a whole other kettle of fish. I used a really old-fashioned reference. Okay. Yeah, I just, I think you're always going to hear honesty is the best policy, but in a way that is kind.
Yeah. It's funny. I bet you're good at doing what your therapist does, where you can be kindly facetious in a sense. Because not that you were before, but it made me, it's that same kind of mode, because you're just like, when you said it in your style, I would say, I won't even say accent, but you just said, I can't entertain you. Like you kind of just let it settle. No. But you meant it sincerely, but it sounds funny because you're a funny person.
Oh, what?
I
Well,
don't know
thank you, Matt.
Sure. I don't know
Coming from you.
No.
Thank you.
I don't know if is it Stacey?
Yes.
If Stacey is a funny person, not that it matters, but sometimes when you're just like, okay, you gotta. you got to go. I can't entertain. You know, like some kind of like they're kind of even nudging him out the door. And
That's a
if he's
great
not
idea.
scary to her, a really good point, and not I won't even say hair trigger, but a hair hurtful, I would say, where like if she was like, okay, time to go, and he's like, why? You know, like, oh God, like you're not, play with me. Would you just understand that I'm being kind and you gotta go, you gotta get out of this house? So yeah, it's so hard, but she sounds like she's got her shit together. Like she's got that. She sounds like she's raising 4 kids and just being like, you know, at no point did she say the thing you assume about this guy, which is, look, he's a nice guy and everything, but she didn't say any of that, which I loved. I love that she was just like, thank you, the kids are here, you gotta go. I got 4 kids, I don't need a 5th. You know, it was.
Yeah. It makes me wonder if, like, the reason that they're not together is that he is kind of, what is the word for someone that doesn't have a life and they kind of glom onto yours? I mean, they just don't have any initiative, and you know,
Right.
it just sounds like that might be the case with him, that he doesn't have anyone else.
No,
which is very sad.
It is very sad, but it's also very much his fault.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay. But you gotta move on from that, and it's really that he's holding on to the familiar when he has to let it go.
Right. That's very painful. There's no way around it.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah.
That's the thing I don't feel you can ever really put into a song well, about how when someone leaves you, you're like, but I know this so well, and even if it hurts, I want to stay. Is that okay? You know, but you can't, because it's so horrifically unsexy. But that's kind of it. When you first get your heart broken, you're like, who cares about my pride?
Right.
I don't care.
Oh, yeah.
I want this. I want to feel love. And it's just like, you have to look after yourself, please.
Yeah.
It's tough, especially with the kids there.
Yeah, and you don't want them seeing you treat their father with no respect, because they need to feel good about their dad.
Yeah.
So also make sure that whatever you do is not in front of them.
Yeah, and it just sucks that all of this is in her lap. I mean, he knows what he's doing. The kids for sure know what he's doing. Kids see everything.
Yes.
Everything. So it's just, I think he thinks he's being slick. He thinks like this is he's somehow gonna, I don't know if he's read stories of people that, you know, maybe he's seen The Marrying Man a few times.
That's me, man.
That's me. We're just gonna keep getting married and divorced because we just can't. We're in love. Why are you pushing me out the door? Yeah, he needs to wise up. And yeah, I don't know if there's a nice way to put it, but yeah, you know, it's so tough.
It is really tough.
It makes me think of, I've talked about the time I had to break up with a friend once. Like, we're not friends anymore.
Ooh.
And it was harder than breaking up with someone you're dating.
What was the reason?
Well, his whole thing is he was a serial liar, which but but with me and with other guys, it was stuff to impress us, and it was just like, that was just annoying, where it's like, you're my friend, I don't need to be impressed. You don't have to lie that you met this celebrity or whatever, or they're your friend. There's a lot of that, you know. But I found out he was also being very emotionally abusive to women. And the thing that broke the camel's back was this girl who he thought as, you know, like, oh, so and so slept with her, and so is so and so, and so I get to, kind of thing. And she told me after the fact, like, he would say the most like creepy things to me, but I never told him to fuck off because he was your friend. And that broke my heart.
Oh, God.
It broke my heart that this person is not doing the thing they should be doing to anyone that's like that with another person, because of me, because this person likes me as a friend. I was just like, I can't have you, you know. And I never really got into it with him. I was just like, look, man, certain stuff has come to light. I think you need to get your shit together, you know.
Did he respect that? I mean, was
He
it
did. I mean, he
like a
kind of
clean?
like, I don't, you have to tell me, you have to blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like, no, I don't, man. You've been horrible to people. And then, certain stuff came out later about him, like women that had lived with him, he'd like stolen their identities and stuff. It's like,
Oh my God.
yeah, just as kind of a sociopath in a way. And yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And I saw him at a wedding once and we were both cordial and he was like, how's it going? And we're good. How are you? Just like, okay, see ya. It wasn't, I don't wish the guy any ill. I from what I hear, he's gotten things together a little bit more, but it was just like, I don't.
Oh, that's spooky.
It's spooky, but to the callers thing, like it's so hard, like to break up again in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To go like, listen, it's yeah. Ugh. So, oh, Stacey, I feel for you, but you sound so strong. And you sound like you have so much perspective in the right possible way. So I'll give you the best compliment I ever give any other performer. I'm not worried about you.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Me neither. Yeah.
So you know what to do. You just got to finesse it however you want to, or don't. But you got to tell him. So, all right. Well, we got one more call. Are you ready for our final caller?
I am.
Okay, let's roll it.
Hey, it's your old pal M, who neither one of you know. So here's my issue. I've got 2 issues. I'm fighting trouble on multiple fronts. First of all, I'm Generation X and I can't text flirt. And it's like a hellish nightmare from which I never will emerge because, it's just a relationship killer. It's a dating killer. So that's number 1. And number 2, I talk too loud and I don't notice until I'm yelling at people, but I'm just interested. Anyway, those are my issues. I hope that you can help. Thanks. Bye.
I have never heard a question like that. How do I not talk so loud? Usually people who do that aren't aware that they're doing it. So
Yeah,
Em has got, she's got a leg up to begin with.
Well, I will say I do have a friend, a dear friend named John Roy, very funny comedian, who has always been a loud, kind of close talker. He's just a gregarious guy. And it wasn't until I'd known him for at least 10 years that I found out it's because he was in a lot of bands and his hearing was.
Oh, wow.
And he's part of the old Chicago gang. And so we had like a big roast at one point of the UCB. And my joke about John was like, very proud of John. There's a movie coming out about him. It's called Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. So dumb, but like, so, and everyone got it.
Oh, God.
But he's one of the funniest guys and he's one of the sweetest people. And it's that thing where you're just like, it was just kind of a funny thing. So to your point, Em, I mean, you can preface it to people sometimes, but you sound very nice. There's way worse things that people do. So.
Yeah. And also I think, people are grown-ups.
Yeah.
You're not responsible for them taking care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's their prerogative to say, I don't need you to talk so loud.
Right.
You're aware of it, which is a great thing, and you can always catch yourself. It sounds like you have.
Yes.
But you're not responsible for other people establishing their boundaries. They need to do it themselves.
That's exactly right.
Adults.
Yeah, and it's like it's because part of me is thinking if someone's very timid or shy, you'll see them flinch.
Right. Yes.
You'll remember and go, oh wait, right, I'm kind of loud.
Yeah.
That's not. I think it's far worse to be like, I have a serious anger problem and I want to take it out on the world, kind of thing. If you're just loud, it's not that bad.
Yeah, if they're going, that's I think a really good indication.
I talk like a wounded dog, and it scares people. Mm-hmm. Now, about the text thing, how do you feel about
text
that?
Flirt.
Text flirt.
That is, first of all, I'm a boomer, and I I text all the time. I've never been in a position of text flirting because I've been either married or,
Out of commission.
so the thought of actually having a relationship now is I'm not thinking about it, and it scares the shit out of me anyway. But so I cannot imagine the whole dance of death of trying to text flirt.
Yeah.
But I don't know that Gen X necessarily excludes you from being able to text. Anybody can.
No, I'm Gen X, and everything, like I'm not good at any of the modern technological flirting. I don't, it scares me to it. And it's paralyzing on every demographical level. I have had my friend Ashley Gavin walked me through how lesbians specifically text each other, and how it's a different thing for your younger LGBTQ, older, younger straight, older straight. It's fascinating the different levels of people's likes or wants. And an example is how younger people don't put periods at the end of texts because they think that's too severe and final.
What?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, that's a big one. And they just want the words out there like the first time I heard it, I was kind of like knee jerk, like, oh, you wussies or whatever. But the more I look at it, the more I think about it, it does feel more the way you talk. So it's like kind of up, like see you later or see you later, like we're done.
Oh,
in a sense.
Wow.
So, but that's just, and I'm not saying like it's right or wrong, but if someone prefers that, who am I to be like, no, that's the rules of the English language? It's like, yeah, you're tapping words into a robot face that goes to another robot face. So, but there's so much stuff like that. But to M's question, because that's why we're here, don't worry about it. Text the things you want or you want to feel or want them to feel, but just I think be brief.
Mm-hmm.
And be direct.
Yeah, it's so tricky because I have a friend who I'm working on a project with. She's a writer, and I was very busy when she was texting me. But I said, yeah, I went, sure. And then she said something else, and I went, sure. And then she said, are we okay? I was like, what? Yeah, I'm fine. So there's so much room for misinterpretation, but consider the fact that, or the possibility that whoever is really right for you might feel the same way.
Absolutely. And even text that, I'm not good at text flirting.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. The person will probably feel a weight come off their shoulders because I know people who are proud of how fast they can text. I've never met anyone who's gone, I'm really good at texting. Because the rules are in people's minds that care about that. So just take the weight right off yourself, because that's far from a deal breaker as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're Gen X. You're supposed to be bad at it. I'm so grateful I grew up and there were no cell phones. Like no one, as time goes on, will ever have that experience that you and I had. Where your mom had to yell for you or whatever,
Come out of the house and yell for you because you're playing up the street with no bodyguard.
Yep. Just running around in alleyways.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. But yeah, Em, I don't think either of those are too bad. And you sound like you have a really sunny attitude, which is good. So this is.
Yeah. I think you're a catch, Em.
I do too, Em. And you're super young like me, a Gen Xer.
Yeah, and you're our old pal.
We're just beginning. I'm so glad we got so many like sunny, upbeat calls.
Yes.
I feel not to be like America's healing, but we've gotten so many bummers that I feel like these are 3 good calls. I'm really happy.
Yeah, things are looking up.
Yeah, exactly. We're coming back. I feel like that's you though. You know, I feel like if I had like Glenn Danzig on or something, you know, they would be there.
I don't know who that is. I would love to know that reference.
He was in a band called the Misfits. Who would I think that you would get from
Morrissey?
If I had Morrissey on, for sure.
Okay.
Better. That's a better example than Glenn Danzig.
Right.
Especially because he sang sad and now he's kind of like a xenophobic.
Oh my God. What happened?
It just goes to show you that not every vegetarian has their heart in the right.
Yeah. Has a deficiency there of happiness.
It's like, what? How did we never see this coming?
Yeah. Oh
So-
my God.
You have a book out now.
Yes, I do.
That, yeah.
Yeah, and it's called May You Live in Interesting Times on Audible exclusively. It is not in print.
Okay.
It is Audible.
Great.
And it is a vocal performance. I had a great time doing it. And it's very honest.
Mm-hmm.
But it covers, my perspective was that I have been witness to and present for a lot of the cultural movements of the last 50 years, the pop culture movements.
Yes.
And so that is a through line through all of it. Also, the things that I've gotten to see, the things that I've gotten to do, the things that I've been in the ground floor of, and also my personal struggles.
I love
It's
it.
all there.
I'm so psyched to listen to that. On that note, I do have a quick speed round of questions for you, if you don't mind.
Shoot.
Okay. I just put a thing on my Instagram stories, like anything you'd like to ask Lorraine. And I always do these at the end because they're not help me with my life. They're like something someone wants to know from you. So
All right.
first
Okay.
was Paul Sanders wrote, when John Lennon stopped you to introduce himself in New York, how damn cool was that?
It was the coolest thing ever. And my friend Stephanie said, that's the coolest thing that's happened to me, that it's happened to you. All the saliva in my mouth went away. I couldn't even respond. I was like Lou Costello when he finds that Frankenstein's in back of him. John Lennon, yeah, it was incredibly cool. One of the highlights of my life.
I love it. Okay, next one, Amy Miller, who's been on the show. Amy Miller, hilarious.
Yes, I know who she is.
Yeah. She said, vinegar dominant slaw or mayo dominant slaw? 5 question marks.
I don't like slaw.
Good answer.
That's a problem. Except on a turkey sandwich, and I believe those have been mayo based, but really thin mayo that might have even been thinned with vinegar.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I that's true. It's like I'm never picking slaw as a side, but a little.
Yeah.
You know, there's so.
I'm not picking sides with slaw.
I don't,
It's very vindictive.
I don't take sides with slaw. I don't. Okay.
But I love the question,
What's that?
Amy. I love that question.
That good? That good? Okay, so last one, and this is kind of full circle to your career. Punch, marry, hang out, respectfully edited, parentheses, Aykroyd, Chase, Murray.
Punch, marry, hang out.
You punch
Well,
one.
I would
you marry one,
punch Chase.
and hang out with the other one.
As much as I love him, I would probably
You said punch Chase.
marry Danny and hang out with Bill, which I did 3 weeks ago. We had dinner and we had a great time.
Oh, I love it.
Laughed a lot.
That's so cool. And I mean, what a perfect way to dismount our tandem horse we've rode out into the world.
Yes.
Lorraine, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for asking me, Matt. I love you. I love you as a comedian, and I love you as a person. I was delighted to do this.
Wow. Well, that now I have that cool feeling you got from John Lennon. So,
Well, now.
come on, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear.
Oh my God, that was amazing. Thank you so much for these great uplifting calls. If you'd like to leave one or a down pressing call, what's the opposite of uplifting? Doesn't matter. If you need advice, want it to be fun, just call 323-763-0228. Again, that's 323-763-0228. Do it.
This Might Help with Matt Braunger was created and hosted by me, Matt Braunger. Produced by Outer Circle Media. Executive producers Matt Kleinschmidt and Robert Kelly for the Laugh Button Podcasts.